Welcome back to another amazing episode of Plan Your Federal Retirement Podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to helping federal employees learn more about their benefits and apply that so you can have a successful retirement in this next exciting chapter of your life. And today we have a special guest on our podcast today. We wanted to bring in another advisor that's inside of our team as a certified financial planner, JT Ferrin. JT, thanks for joining us, bud.
Thanks, Micah. Super excited to be here and be on the podcast.
Yeah, this came up of having you as a guest on here because we were talking just the other day with a new client, and they had brought up an interesting question about the TSP. I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so great for our listeners because the TSP, JT, you and I both agree on this, right? The TSP is a phenomenal tool for clients to save money for retirement, right? We got those three stages of saving money in our life, right? We have that accumulation. I got to save money. I got to build money, right? So I have enough for retirement. Man, that's where the TSP shines. Then from accumulation, it goes to preservation. Okay, I have enough money. How do I keep it? Then it goes to the distribution stage, right? Jokingly say it's Jerry Maguire, right? Show me the money. How do I take my money out of this account and never outlive it? We have those three stages, and each stage we got to think about how we're using investments differently. But I think, JT, we're really going to focus right now on this accumulation stage and how powerful that TSP can be in that stage.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, there's a lot of confusion because there's a lot of different plans and people hear things, read things, and sometimes it applies to the TSP and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, and not only does it apply to the TSP sometimes and not, the rules have changed, right? From the TSP Modernization Act, which happened several years ago, the TSP made some more tweaks in 2021 and how the TSP, 2022, how the TSP was working as well. So we have all of these other things and the rules keep changing. So you staying on top of them to make sure you can maximize your benefits is really important, which again is why we love doing this podcast to help get you that great information.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes the rule changes don't really affect you. In the case of this spillover change, more of an administrative change, right? We'll get into those details, but
Yeah.
I think it can be really confusing. So it'll be good.
It can. All right. So we want to talk about TSP funding, but I guess JT, before we jump into this, boy, I'm going to put you on the spot with this very ambiguous question here. I know, right? All right. Let's get him on the hot seat. How much should someone be saving for retirement?
Oof. All of it.
Well, that is one option. That's the FIRE option, right? Financial independence, retire early. That's pretty much their theory is save like everything you possibly can, which that is one option that's out there. But the problem is we're going to suffer from our lifestyle today, right? So we got to kind of balance these things out.
And I think it really comes down to your long-term plan and goals and cash flow, figuring out how much you're spending now, how much you're going to be spending in retirement, and then walking back into that. And that will give us a number of how much you need to save.
I love it. JT, 100% spot on. This is a depends question, right? It's not a cut simple answer that's there that says everyone should do X. It says, no. What are your goals? I love that you said that, JT. What are your long-term goals? I.e., when do you want to retire? You brought up cash flow. How much are you spending today? How much are you planning on spending in retirement? Here's a pro tip. What you're spending today is probably what you want to spend in retirement, if not more, right? So a big mistake that sometimes we see is clients will come in and be like, hey, I want to retire and have $8,000 a month. This is okay, great. Let's start working on that. How much are you spending today? They don't really know. We work with them and it comes up they're spending $11,000 a month. Okay, you're spending $11,000 a month today. You're retiring in 1 year and you think you're going to spend $8,000. Where are you going to drop that $3,000 a month from? And it's like, oh, it'll cost me less because I'm retired because I won't be commuting every single day. I don't think we're spending $3,000 a month on the commuter cost, right? So these are things that we really have to look at in that consideration for longevity, long-term cash flow. How much money do we have? Where is it going to come from?
Yeah, and what do you want to do in retirement? I mean, federal employees retire relatively early, right?
That's right.
MRA, age 57. What are you going to be doing every day? You probably want to go have fun. You want to go pursue your goals, your dreams, and that costs money.
Another benefit that federal employees have as well is you have a fantastic pension, right? So this is where federal employees get in trouble is they read online in a news article. It says everyone should be saving 20% of their income to be retired when they're 65 or 70 or whatever that number is, right? I'm just making it up. And that's an interesting aspect from one angle, but we got to take that and then apply it. And JT, you brought up a point that I forget because I've worked so much with federal employees, is they do have a tendency to retire early compared to non-federal employees because you have such a great benefit set. That means we need to be earmarked maybe to save a little bit more, but we really got to factor in that pension that you're going to get as well, because that could be a big part of your retirement.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right. One of the three pillars.
That's right. Yeah, we have the pension, right? Your first pension, you got your TSP, and you got Social Security. Those are your three sources of income: TSP, other investments, etc. Those are those main three sources of income that you're going to have coming in. All right, so we have that you should save. All right, well, we don't know how much everyone should save. That's going to be different. I'm going to say hands down, and now JT is a financial advisor. He does a great job. And one of the things that we are beat into our heads at a young age as financial advisors is you do not give generic investment advice. You don't give investment advice publicly. This is everybody should do this because you don't know their situation. And I'm about to break that rule. I know, right? Here's one bit of investment advice that I think everybody should do. And I cannot think of an exception for this. Every single federal employee, especially if you're into FERS, should be putting at least 5% into your TSP account. Now, I'm not telling you how to invest it, right? You can go put it in whatever you want. If you just want to stick in the G fund so it's guaranteed, knock yourself out. But every single federal employee should be putting at least 5% in. And our listeners already know why, because if you put 5% in, you're doubling your money because the government is going to match that fully at 5%. That means it's going to be a 10% contribution between your match and the government match that's in there. So again, especially for newer federal employees, they tend to miss this and saying, I don't have the cash flow for it, or you know what, I'm not ready to save that. Nope, that's the minimum we should be putting in. So we don't know what the maximum is for everybody just yet, but that's definitely going to be the minimum every federal employee should be putting into their TSP. JT, any pushback on that?
No pushback at all. I mean, that's money that you're leaving on the table. If you're not going to do the full 5%, you're missing out on that.
And it's money you earned, right? Let's be super clear about this, right? This is a benefit in which you've earned. It's part of your benefit package. This would be like not taking health insurance. It's like, whoa, hold on a second. Why are you going on the marketplace to get health insurance so much more when you could be getting health insurance through the federal government? So this is a benefit you've earned. Let's make sure you do it. All right, so that's the minimum you should be putting in. Oh, sorry, JT, you have something to add to that?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, this is a benefit. It's not free money, right? It's not that they're just going to give you an extra few percentage. No, this is money that you've earned. It's part of your benefits package, and you need to take advantage of it. Don't leave it on the table.
Amen, I say to you. All right, so that's really important. So we got the minimum that we should put in. Well, while we don't know how much you should be contributing overall to retirement accounts, there is a cap on how much we can put in the TSP. It went up this year. It's probably going to go up next year. We don't have those numbers for 2024 just yet. But JT, how much can people put into their TSP account this year?
For 2023, it's $22,500. And if you're over age 50, you get to do a little bit extra, an extra $7,500. So if you're age 50 and older, you can do $30,000 a year.
Oh, man, it's fantastic. Now, with that age 50 and older, I love it. Now, keep in mind, it's the year you turn 50 that you get to do this. So what does that mean? If you turn 50 in November, in January, you can start adding that catch up because guess what? You'll be 50 by the end of the year. So the year you turn 50, you are eligible for that catch up contribution. So that is a fantastic benefit. It is an extra form, or you can go online to the TSP in order to elect that, to have that withdrawn via payroll deduction. So we got the TSP contributions, right? You got the minimum you should be putting in 5%. The maximum is $22,000 or $30,000 if you're over 50 years old. And what we love about these rules that's there is they keep going up just a little bit. But sometimes, JT, as you mentioned before, gets a little confusing. And this came from a question we got from a new client. He says, well, I've missed the catch-up contribution for a few years. And since I missed it, can't I just catch up and go backwards and make up that contribution? So he could have been putting in a catch up. He didn't have the opportunity to. Now he really wants to catch up. Isn't that what it's designed for?
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense, right? But it's not. It's a little bit different. These catch-up provisions in these retirement plans are all a little bit different. The 403B, the 401k, the TSP, They all have their own little nuances. So again, that's why it can be confusing. But catch up might not mean what you think it means.
Yeah. And in this case, what catch up means is they're saying, hey, you may not have been able to save enough when you were younger, so we're going to allow you 1 year at a time to save a little bit more. So that's a great benefit, but that doesn't mean if you've missed contributions, you get to go back and make them up. Now, if you have a spouse that has a 403B plan, there's rules that are slightly different over there that may apply to them. But for you under the TSP, which is a great program, it's a calendar basis contribution. We are calendar year taxpayers, right? From January to December. So the contributions must be made via payroll deduction during that time. So if we've missed an opportunity in the past years to make a contribution, unfortunately that is done and gone, but great news, we get to look forward and be able to make those contributions going forward. JT, the other questions on this talking about catch-up contributions is, the TSP is not the only place that we get. Oh, before we leave the TSP, so you can put, let's just say 22.5, right? Everybody can put 22.5 into the TSP account, but we have the traditional and we have the Roth TSP. So if you're putting 22.5 in, does that mean you get to put 22.5 in traditional and 22.5 in the Roth?
No, combined 22.5 total.
You got it. Yep. The TSP is just one umbrella. You can put 22.5 in, which is fantastic. You get to choose where that money goes, into Roth or into to traditional, right? And so you get to choose, do I want the tax deduction today or do I want tax-free money in retirement? There's pros and cons to this. I got to say, we're both pretty big Roth IRA fans and Roth TSP fans. There's some catches, right? So it's not carte blanche. Everybody should do it, but it's definitely something I'm going to say everyone should evaluate. Are you putting money away? One of the biggest misnomers that federal employees have is they go into this impression that when I retire, my taxes will be less. And vast majority of the time, they will not. They'll probably be higher unless you've done some planning to help reduce those into retirement. All right, so we got TSP money, we got contributions, etc. JT, what about IRA contributions? How much should we be sticking in IRA accounts every year?
All right. Before we get going, I want to mention one more thing on the TSP. I recently had a question from a client about the spillover rule and how that works with the catch-up provisions. Now, this was a change that happened in 2021, just a few years ago, so I think there's still a lot of confusion around it. But the spillover rule is more of an administrative change, right? It doesn't really change the amount of contribution or how you're making that contribution, but really just the accounting behind it.
Yeah, so I think what that spillover rule really talks about is before, if you were just making your normal contribution to the TSP, and let's say your contribution was set for 22.5. I know it would have been less in previous years, but it was set to 22.5 and you were funding it, and you fully funded the TSP early in the year, then your contributions would stop. If you were scheduled to be fully funded with a TSP in October, those contributions would stop and then you wouldn't be making any other contributions. Now, if you're eligible for the catch-up, that spillover, what happens is that money dumps automatically into a catch-up contribution. Is that right, JT?
Yep, it goes into that catch-up contribution towards the 7,500. It doesn't spill over into the next year either. Right? I think there's another confusion there is that maybe we said that the maximum is 30,000. So what happens when you contribute $30,001, right? Then that $1 is not spilled over into the 2024 year or 2025 year, whatever it is. It's just for meeting that 22,500 limit and then spilling over into the catch-up provision.
Right. So this is really important that you know how much money you're saving into the TSP, where that money is going. Now, pro tip on this, we recommend clients to say, hey, make your TSP election contribution, make your catch-up contribution at the beginning of the year, leave it set all year, right? We can increase it, whatnot, but don't try to monkey with it and saying, hey, I want money in sooner. There's some things that happen with the match, etc. Just plan on funding it all over your 26 pay periods. That is the simplest way to go to make sure it all gets funded. Love it. All right, so let's jump onto some IRA rules, and I want to make sure we're talking about some IRA rules and quickly some HSA rules, because again, HSAs are so misused. I keep talking about it on the podcast. I'm going to talk about it so I'm blue in the face because there's some awesome ways that we should be using these accounts. But JT, how much are IRA contributions? How much can we put in IRAs, whether it's IRA or traditional or Roth?
The IRA contribution limit just changed again for 2023. So for 2023, it's $6,500 per person. Or if you're over age 50, you can do an extra 1,000 to make it 7,500 for the year.
Yeah, that's really important, right? So we got to be thinking about, are we in an individual plan? Are we in a family plan? Oh, sorry, I'm talking about HSAs already. The IRA contributions are so great because we can put those money in those accounts and they can grow. JC, I think a misnomer that we have on IRA accounts is that if somebody makes, quote, too much money, if they make, quote, too much money, they can't fund IRA accounts. But that's not true, is it?
Not true. You just can't deduct it. You can contribute to the traditional IRA. You just can't deduct it.
Right? Yes. Now, for our great do-it-yourselfer clients that love TurboTax and putting the stuff in there, that TurboTax warning is pretty prompt. And it says, whoa, you've made too much money. You can't deduct this contribution. And we get calls from clients that says, Micah, I can't contribute to my IRA account because TurboTax says this warning. And JT, just as you said, we got to read that, right? It says you cannot deduct the contribution. It doesn't say you can't make the contribution. This becomes an after-tax contribution to your IRA account, which is actually pretty powerful and could be a great planning tool for taxes, right?
Oh, for sure. And start looking at backdoor Roth IRAs, a few other planning strategies around here. But yes, you still can make the contribution.
Yes, so powerful. That's there. Again, knowing your contributions. Now, we can make a discussion about an IRA versus a Roth, traditional versus a Roth. There are some income limits about directly funding Roth accounts that we've talked about on previous pods. And there's great news. The short answer is there's ways around them. So if you think that you're limited and you can't put money in a Roth account because your income, that is probably an incorrect statement. You got to give us a call and we can talk about some backdoor Roth IRA funding. Some really good, there's some catches. We got to be careful on how we do it, but there's some great ways we can almost always get money in a Roth IRA, which is pretty fantastic.
For sure.
All right. So JT, I want to jump to, and I already started kind of going down that list. Sorry, I was reading my notes a little bit advanced when you were talking about IRAs because I'm getting super excited about HSAs. I love health savings accounts. Now, there's a lot of concern about these. There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of misuse, not inappropriate use, but maybe not maximizing our HSAs the way that they should. And an HSA is, of course, different than an FSA. FSA is that flexible spending account. This is a health savings account, which I love because you can keep and save money. And so you get to put money into this. Now, as you guys already know, because I know our listeners are super savvy on this, is that in order to get an HSA, you must be in a high deductible plan. JT, when I'm talking to clients, that's generally when I lose them, right? They're like, whoop, nope, I'm out. I don't want this high deductible plan. I love my Blue Cross Blue Shield low deductible. I don't want anything to do with this.
And it seems like these days, every plan is a high deductible plan, right? At least for us outside of the federal employee world.
I was going to say out of the government circle, that's a correct statement. There's so many that are high deductible, but inside the federal FEHB space, there's a lot of these low deductible plans.
Yeah.
So what we got to look at when we're working at this is just saying, all right, so when we're picking our health, now, the reason we're talking about this, I know this kind of airs in September. I want to plant the seed. We'll be talking about more of this in November during open season. But why this is so important is so often we get stuck in a rut with our health insurance plan. Now, maybe that's a good option, but I want everyone to evaluate their health insurance plan once a year. Is it still a good fit? If you're in relatively good health, you see the doctor maybe once or twice a year, nothing major is going on, I'm going to make an argument you should look at an HSA, maybe a high deductible plan, because this allows you to save money. Not only can we save money pre-tax, we get to invest that money. That money is able to grow 100% tax-free, which is a pretty amazing tool. Think about this. This is another Roth IRA tool that we have. So it's really powerful. So JT, as we have this, how much can we fund into an HSA account? How does that work? Kind of whatever their catch-ups, et cetera.
Yeah, this is awesome. They're really taking the best of both worlds of the traditional IRA where you get to deduct it and the Roth IRA where it grows totally tax-free. And for 2023, the contribution limits are $3,850 per person or $7,750 per couple married filing joint. And if you're over age 50, you get an extra $1,000 of contribution.
So this can, again, be a super powerful tool. Now, here's how I personally use my HSA account, because I have a high deductible plan. And don't worry, we look at your FEHB with green, with envy, because we are on the outside and see how beautiful that plan is. But In my high deductible plan, because I have a very high deductible plan, I max fund my family HSA every single year. Now, my intent is that if we go see the doctor or whatnot, I'm actually not using my HSA money for that doctor event if I can afford it in cash flow, right? We go to a checkup, the kid's got to get a physical, like those little things. I'm probably going to pay out of pocket. Now, if I need the HSA, I always have in my HSA my deductible in cash that's available. But anything above my deductible, I invest that in the HSA, and you can do the same in your HSA. It's TD Ameritrade, which is now bought by Schwab, so we got to see how all that's shaking out. But now in your Schwab account, you're going to be able to invest that money, and now I can apply this long-term approach. Keep in mind our investment rules. Any money you plan to spend in the next 5 years should not be invested. Why do we say 5 years? 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? When the market fell, it took 5 years to recover. It's going to happen again. So we got to have that in mind. But assuming this money meets that criteria, I like investing it, especially for my younger clients, federal employees. We get to put money in their 30s and their 40s, maybe even early 50s. I get to save for 10, 15, 20 years, an extra $7,000 a year into these accounts. Okay, quick math here. For 10 years, that's 70 grand. For 20 years, that's $140,000. I could be sitting away that grows tax-free. That's on top of my Roth IRAs. That's on top of my Roth TSP account. This is a massive savings tool. Now, the catch is when we pull that money out, it has to avoid taxes and penalties. We got to be able to pull that money out for a qualified medical expense. JT, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And you're talking about paying for medical expenses with cash flow, at least the ones that you can afford. It's worth looking at the qualified medical expense list because it's really long. There's a lot of things that qualify. So if you're going to pay for it with cash flow, save the receipts or use some other accounting method to keep record of that.
Now, here's a great little catch with the HSAs or hack with the HSAs. When we're doing these, it's so cool. When we're doing this with the HSA account, it's not a calendar year expense issue. What does that mean? Let's say I save money in my HSA for the next 10 years and I don't take any of the money. I'm funding it every single year. I got at least $70,000, probably more in that account because it should be growing at that time. But then I have a big medical expense that comes up. Fantastic. All I have to do is go back and look at all of the medical expenses I've had for the last 10 years. And I could say, what did I pay out of pocket? I could then go to the HSA and aggregate those over 10 years and pull that out as a lump sum. So what I'm doing is I'm using that money to grow. Now, let's say I don't have any medical expenses. I'm great. I'm healthy. Now I'm past 65 years young. Awesome. I get to reach into that HSA. I can pull the money out without a penalty, but I got to pay taxes on it. So if you will, it just became an IRA. So instead of a Roth, it became an IRA. That's not that bad of a deal. It's a great savings tool for you.
Yeah, you get an extra IRA. That's awesome.
So these are things that we really got to be careful of when we're funding retirement accounts, when we're doing these things. How are all of these pieces put together? How do they come? And this kind of goes back to that first question. How much should you be saving for retirement? JT, back to your point. What are your goals, right? On the goal side of the equation, it's going to be when do I want to retire? When do I need to access this money? How should it be saved? That all needs to back into this funding question about where and how much should you be putting every single year away. All right, I love it. So JT, as you know, and our listeners know, this podcast is all about action items. I know it's fun just listening to us talk about retirement accounts, but in addition to that, we want you to take action on this. I'm going to say your first action item that's out there. We have a goal to help another 1 million federal employees with retirement. And the only way we can achieve that goal is with your help. So like, share, send this information out. It's not just for our benefit. We truly want to be a great resource to federal employees. We want to get them the right information on them. So make sure you're sharing this. The podcast keeps growing because of our awesome listeners. That's you guys. So thank you so much. So that was my selfish action item. So forgive me. We want to make sure we're helping out more people though. JT, what's another action item our listeners can do this week?
We mentioned it at the beginning, but the first thing is make sure you're getting that 5% match. Make sure you're contributing at least 5% of your pay.
I love it. That's it. Now, if you're not maxing the TSP out, then once a quarter, every 90 days, maybe once every 6 months, go increase that TSP just a little bit. Not a lot. Go increase it 0.5%. Go increase it 1%. Here's what we know working with clients. And I'm not picking on you guys. We do the same thing. When I have money in my checking account, it's amazing. I spend it every single month. The money gets spent. If I have a little bit more in there, I spend a little bit more. If I have a little bit less, I spend a little bit less. So a simple hack here is slowly but surely keep increasing how much you're saving into that TSP, into that 401k account, whatever you have, and let's let it keep growing for retirement. So next action item I'm going to say is just increase those TSP contributions. JT, I think I got one more, but any other action items on your list?
Yeah, we have open enrollment coming up. Look at the HSA eligible health plans. Go look at the high deductible health plan and see if it could be a good fit for you.
I love it. And then the other thing is tax planning. We love taxes. You thought you were going to listen to an episode without us talking about taxes. All right. But no, every episode is taxes are so important. So I want you to think about this year. And we love October, November. That's when we do most of our effective tax planning with our clients. I got 10, 11 months under our belt. We know what this is. Should you be making traditional or Roth contributions for next year? Start looking at those decisions now. Start making those changes so you can get set up for your retirement. JT, love having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you. It's been super fun to be on the podcast.
All right. And for our listeners, until next time, happy planning.
Happy planning.